The alien princess smiled as she pulled me in. "You belong here." HFY Sci-Fi Story. The human delegation ship arrived at Aurelian without ceremony. It was small, practical, and clearly built for function over beauty. Most alien ships arriving at the crystal world announced themselves with light displays, harmonic signals, and slow, graceful descent. The human vessel did none of that. It entered orbit, sent a single confirmation ping, and waited. Inside the ship stood Elias Ward, a human systems analyst chosen not because he was important, but because he was replaceable. Humanity was still new to the galactic conquered, still labeled as a minor species. Humans were known to be adaptable and curious, but not dangerous, not special. Elias himself believed that label most days. He adjusted his plain uniform and looked at the glowing world below. Aurelian looked unreal, like a planet made from frozen light. Towers of translucent crystal rose from the surface, reflecting the star in soft colors. Elias felt small, but he had felt small his entire life. It was familiar. The docking process was smooth, too smooth. As Elias stepped into the arrival hall, he noticed the silence. Hundreds of alien diplomats stood in organized groups, their forms tall, floating, scaled, or shimmering. Conversation slowed. Eyes turned toward him. Some were curious, some were confused, a few were uneasy. No one smiled. Elias followed the guide drone forward, his footsteps echoing on the crystal floor. He reminded himself to breathe normally. Humans had practiced for this moment for years. Be polite, be quiet, do not stand out. That was when Princess Valith noticed him. She stood above the hall on a raised platform, surrounded by attendants and guards. Her species, the Aurelians, were tall and elegant, their skin like polished glass with light moving beneath it. Their eyes glowed faintly, a sign of their psychic awareness. Valith had greeted hundreds of diplomats before. Most minds were calm, controlled, predictable. She could feel intentions, emotions, and hidden thoughts like gentle currents in water. Then the human arrived. His mind was not quiet. It was not loud in the way of panic or aggression. It was layered, dense, constantly shifting. Thoughts overlapping, evaluating, questioning. It felt unfinished, yet endlessly rebuilding itself. Valith blinked. She reached out with her senses, instinctively trying to read him more clearly. The moment she touched his presence, something pushed back. Not violently, not deliberately, just a firm resistance, like trying to press her hand through solid stone. Her breath caught. No mind had ever done that. Elias felt a sudden chill run down his spine. He did not know why. He only knew that someone was looking at him, truly looking at him in a way that made his skin prickle. He looked up. Their eyes met. For a brief moment, the entire hall seemed to fade away. Valith saw uncertainty, stubbornness, quiet courage, and a history of survival shaped by struggle. Elias saw light, intelligence, and something ancient watching him with open curiosity. Valith smiled. It was small, controlled, but unmistakable. The moment broke as the conquered chancellor began speaking, welcoming the human delegation and listing formal titles Elias barely understood. Elias listened politely, nodding when expected. Everything seemed normal again. Until the station lights flickered, once, twice. A low hum passed through the crystal floor. The sound was subtle, but Valith felt it immediately. So did the engineers nearby. The energy flow wavered in a way that should not be possible. An alarm did not sound. That was worse. Aurelian systems were ancient, layered over centuries of upgrades. They were stable because no one dared change them. If something went wrong without warning, it meant the problem was deep. Engineers began to whisper. Valith turned her attention inward, scanning the station's core systems with her mind. What she sensed made no sense. Power loops were misaligned. Logic paths contradicted each other. The system was compensating for flaws it should not have had. Then she felt another presence moving. Elias had stopped walking. The guide drone hovered ahead, unaware. Elias stood still, staring at a nearby wall where light patterns pulsed unevenly. His brow furrowed. "That's not right," he muttered. An alien attendant turned sharply. "Human, you are to continue forward." You've got feedback loops fighting each other. A distant crack echoed through the hall. Panic erupted. Guards raised weapons. Diplomats backed away. Engineers rushed toward control stations, only to freeze when system locks refused their commands. The conquered chancellor turned pale. Security, isolate the human. But if you don't shut down Section 12 right now, your core stabilizers are going to overload. She stopped in front of Elias, close enough that he could see the light moving beneath her skin. You perceive our systems without access, she said carefully. Elias swallowed. I work with legacy systems, old ones. The kind nobody wants to touch because they still work. Yours are like that, just bigger. She reached out gently, testing his mind again. Once more she felt resistance, not rejection, balance. Decisions settled within her. She turned to the guards. Stand down. If he is right, we lose everything by ignoring him. Valeth's smile returned, warmer this time. Neither am I. They're canceling each other out. He removed redundancy where it caused conflict and added it where it mattered. The station trembled once more, then it stabilized. Lights brightened. Energy flows smoothed. The warning indicators faded into calm green patterns. Silence filled the chamber. An engineer whispered, "Impossible. Just overdue." "You belong here," she said clearly for all to hear. And in that moment the galaxy began to change. The words spoken by Princess Valeth echoed through the chamber long after the station system stabilized. "You belong here." No one moved, because no one wanted to be the one who challenged the heir of Aurelian in front of half the galaxy's live observers. Valeth released her hold on Elias and turned to face the chamber. Her posture was calm, but her presence filled the space. "The human will not be detained," she said. "Not today." "Princess," the human interfered with restricted systems. "Protocol demands." Engineers slowly approached the control displays, checking readings with disbelief. Everything was stable, more than stable. Power efficiency had increased. Stress indicators had dropped. One of the senior engineers spoke quietly. "The system is better. Humans are observers here, not participants." The doors closed softly behind him, leaving him alone for the first time since arrival. He sat down heavily, staring at his hands. "What did I just do?" he whispered. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time felt strange on Aurelian. When the doors opened again, Elias stood quickly, his heart jumping. Princess Valeth entered alone. No guards, no attendants. She studied him for a long moment. "You are afraid," she said. "Yeah," Elias admitted. "Where I come from, that usually means I messed up." They just learned to ignore them. Once more she felt that steady resistance, but now she noticed something else beneath its structure. Humans did not think in straight lines. They thought in networks, in risks and backups, in what might fail next. "You are dangerous," she said softly. Elias stiffened. "I don't want to be." "That is why you are." But data did not lie. Every small adjustment Elias suggested improved stability. Not perfection, just improvement. Word spread through the court. Some spoke his name with curiosity, others with fear. Elias noticed the looks. He noticed how guards subtly repositioned themselves when he entered a room, how nobles whispered behind crystalline hands. "You should be careful," an engineer warned him one day. "Many here believe stagnation is safety." Has anything broken since he arrived? It had not failed in recorded history. "The timing is off," Elias explained. "Your sensors are compensating, but something is pushing them." The Kreth Dominion, an ancient rival species known for testing defenses through force rather than diplomacy. They were probing. Panic rippled through command chambers across Aurelian. Defense protocols activated, ancient weapons humming to life. Confidence returned quickly. The array had never failed. Elias did not share that confidence. "This system assumes predictable behavior," he said. "The Kreth won't do that. If they overload one section, the rest will cascade." The defenses responded automatically, brilliant energy flaring across the void. At first it worked. Then Elias saw the pattern. "They're mapping us," he said, "learning our reactions." "Making us unpredictable," Elias replied. "That's how humans fight." A concentrated strike aimed at a junction point no one had monitored in centuries. "Section 12," he shouted. "They're hitting Section 12." Then Elias' earlier changes activated. Manual layers engaged. Simplified paths took over. The array bent but did not break. Kreth ships reeled as feedback surged back at them. Several lost power. One shattered completely. Silence followed. The Kreth fleet retreated. Across Aurelian, relief washed through every mind. In the control chamber, no one spoke. Finally, an officer whispered, "We survived." Analysts began asking the same question. How? The answer was uncomfortable, a human. As the station returned to calm, Valeth stood beside Elias looking out at the stars. "You were right," she said. "You do belong here." And somewhere beyond the stars, ancient powers began to pay attention. The retreat of the Kreth fleet did not bring peace. Across Aurelian, celebrations began quietly, carefully, as if the world itself was afraid to believe the danger had passed. Lights softened. Emergency crews repaired surface damage. The defense array settled into a calm, steady rhythm that it had never known before. But in the halls of power, fear replaced relief. Elias felt it the moment he entered the council chamber. Conversations stopped. Minds turned toward him. Some were curious, some thankful, and some sharp with suspicion. He had crossed a line. Before, he was a guest who fixed a problem. Now he was proof that the galaxy's old certainty was wrong. Valeth stood at the center of the chamber, her posture steady. Around her sat representatives of Aurelian's noble houses, military leaders, and conquered observers. The Chancellor was present as well, his expression unreadable. "The Kreth have withdrawn," the Chancellor began. "But they will not forget this. Our defenses adapted beyond expected parameters. That adaptation came from human methodology. For millennia, stability has preserved us. Now, a single outsider arrives, and suddenly we invite change that attracts war. Or because we were lucky. The Kreth didn't attack because of me," Elias continued. "They attacked because they sensed weakness. They always do. The only difference is this time you changed. Several member species are demanding clarification," he said. "They want to know how a minor species influenced a core world's defenses so completely. Intercepted but not fully decoded. Variables spread. If one human can change a core defense system in days, what happens when there are more?" "Yeah," Elias replied. "I think I made things worse." Valeth's lips curved slightly. "I will not allow either. Multiple worlds, multiple species, requests, demands, accusations." One message stood out. Humanity had been formally reclassified, not as non-threatening, but as strategically significant. Elias exhaled slowly. "Back home, that's not usually a good thing. And that scares them." Ships from species that had avoided Aurelian for centuries now hovered at a cautious distance. No weapons fired, no threats spoken, just watching. "They want to know if the stories are true," Elias said. "And if humans are a threat," Valeth replied. The conquered Chancellor approached Elias privately. "You are at the center of a growing instability," he said. "If you leave, tensions may ease. And we share what we learn." Energy waste dropped, response times improved, data streamed outward to watching fleets. The reaction was immediate: shock, disbelief, and fear. Aurelian had allowed an outsider to improve perfection. "This will force a response," an advisor warned Valeth. "Yes," she said, "but silence would have forced one too." He felt exposed but also strangely calm. "This is bigger than me now," he said. Valeth nodded. "It always was. They're trying to isolate us." "Then they're right," he said softly. "We don't." Within days, the space around Aurelian filled with ships from many worlds. They did not form attack lines. They kept distance. They watched. Sensors reached outward like cautious hands, measuring every signal, every change. Elias stood at the observation window, arms crossed, staring at the silent fleets. "They're not here to fight," he said. Valith stood beside him. "No. They are here to decide. The situation has reached a point where neutrality is no longer possible," he said. "Humanity's impact cannot be ignored. The question before us is simple. Humans change systems faster than we can predict. They are arguing about you as if you are a force of nature. Put it through." And of the fear spreading through this assembly. "That is how we will survive the stars." Director Hale's voice softened. "Then you will still change, just slower and alone." "But we will." The Kreth response came hours later. Their fleet did not attack. It formed at the edge of known space and broadcast a single message. "You choose instability," the Kreth War speaker declared. "You choose humanity. Then understand this. We will survive it. The galaxy fears humans because they reveal flaws," she continued. "But flaws do not destroy civilizations. Refusing to face them does." They worked beside alien minds that thought differently, slowly building bridges of understanding. Systems across Aurelian became stronger, not perfect, just ready to fail without falling apart. Other worlds followed, some reluctantly, some eagerly. Change spread. Elias became a symbol whether he liked it or not a hero, a reminder. Proof that a single human could stand among the stars and belong. One evening, Elias stood again in the crystal garden with Valith. "Do you ever regret pulling me in that day?" he asked. She smiled softly. "No. On our own planet, in our own systems." They understood something the others were only beginning to learn. Humans were not conquerors. They were not saviors. They were accelerants. Where humans went, history stopped waiting. And as the galaxy stepped into an uncertain future, one truth became impossible to deny.